Right now at noon, a pickup truck drives into the lobby of Denny's in Neosho. Plus, we've got a windy and warm day, but big changes are on the way. We're going to take a look at that forecast coming up. And it's time to renew those hunting and fishing licenses for the new season.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A pickup crashes into the Denny's in Neosho, leaving the business temporarily closed. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Chris Warner. New at noon today, city officials in Neosho are now assessing the building's damage. The crash happened just before 7 this morning after officials say the driver of the pickup accidentally hit the gas instead of the brake. Truck drove into the waiting area of the restaurant. Officials say no one was in the waiting area and no one was injured in the crash. Denny's is closed for now as they wait for a private contractor to complete temporary repairs to bring the building back up to city code. We'll have more information as it becomes available on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And staff on duty at the Independence Fire EMS building went into action when a pickup truck crashed into the back of the station. Firefighters heard what sounded like an explosion and saw a dumpster fly into the air before striking a canopy roof and falling to the ground. Emergency workers managed to free a person who was trapped in the truck. That person was taken by helicopter to the hospital. Police are investigating the cause of the crash. And Nevada firefighters responded to a fire Monday afternoon. The fire was located just north of the Vernon County Square on the 200 block of East Locust. Firefighters were able to contain the fast-moving blaze. A garage with a car was destroyed. Then an adjoining residence suffered extensive damage. Another residence had siding melt due to intense heat. Nevada Fire Chief Troy Denny says no one was injured and they are still investigating the cause of the fire. The Red Cross has also responded to assist the residents that were displaced by that fire. Missouri State Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick released a follow-up report for the city of Purcell. It finds the city is still working to implement many of the recommendations made by a 2022 audit that gave the municipality a rating of poor. The original report was initiated by a citizen petition and led to the former mayor pro tem being charged with stealing after uncovering more than $3,200 in missing or misappropriated money. The follow-up report looks at 19 of the recommendations made in the original audit and finds the city has fully implemented only 4 of them. And the state of Kansas now officially has a severe weather preparedness week. Governor Laura Kelly last week signed a proclamation designating the week of March 4th through March 8th as Severe Weather Preparedness Week in the state. As part of the week's activities, there will be a statewide tornado safety drill on March 6th at 11 a.m. Officials also encourage people to use the week to prepare an emergency kit and plan so all members of your household are ready when severe weather strikes. And thankfully, we're not looking at anything too crazy in terms of thunderstorm chances for tonight. However, we had discussed that severe threat that over the last 2 or 3 days kept moving further and further east. Unfortunately, it's backed up just a wee bit. We're going to talk about that and our thunderstorm chances plus this big temperature drop in the full forecast a little later. But first, quick look outside. MoDOT camera 32nd and range line. Plenty of folks heading out to the road, and take a look at this traffic signal bouncing around in the wind out there. Very gusty winds. Our camera on the Cornell complex showing where we've got those mostly cloudy skies. So again, more clouds than sun, but you can see it's shaking in the breeze. Yesterday started at 49, made it up to 77, well above our averages, and our high, not quite a record, but boy, coming awfully close. 79 in Joplin right now, 76 in Pittsburgh, mostly cloudy skies, both locations. Further south, temperatures hanging out into the low 80s already, 70s across the board for everyone else. As mentioned, though, we do have some thunderstorm chances late tonight, and we're going to see a 50-degree temperature drop. We'll talk about all that again in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. The Missouri Department of Conservation wants to remind hunters and anglers now is the time to renew their hunting and fishing licenses, and Missourians can do it online. Related annual permits expire at the end of February, including 2023 permits for small game, fishing, trout fishing, and combination hunting and fishing. For more information on how to renew your license, you can check out this story on our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. The city of Joplin wants to remind customers of the city wastewater service that failure to pay sewer charges can result in water service being shut off. Missouri American Water Company's disconnection and reconnection fee is $188. Joplin encourages customers to call the city if they're unable to pay their sewer bill because of unforeseen circumstances. You can find more information again on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. The Salvation Army of Ottawa County Service Center is moving into a new space that fits all of their services. It's moving from Steve Owens Boulevard to 1915 North Main Street in Miami. At first glance, it may look like just a thrift store, but it's much more. It provides free clothing, access to the food pantry, and social services to people in need.
It is a few hundred square feet larger. It houses all three of our services. So we have social services, we have a clothing shopping experience that's free for people, and we also have a food pantry.
Salvation Army of Ottawa County Service Center is currently open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. until noon. Well, coming up, the Parsons Public Library taking part in Black History Month by recognizing 12 local women with a unique historic connection. And later, we're making bourbon chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Well, Fort Scott High School yesterday hosted its Academic Technology and Fine Arts Showcase. Community members were invited out to the event to check out what the students have been working on. Projects included academic displays, demos, art exhibits, digital creation, shop class tours, and a whole lot more.
I hope the community sees how much our students are capable of, because we have some amazing students here. As we look forward to creating a technical school in this area, I hope that they can see that this technical school will really serve our students well.
There were also musical performances from the school's jazz band, chamber orchestra, and choir. In honor of Black History Month, the Parsons Public Library hosted a presentation last evening about the 12 black women involved in the historic Brown versus Board of Education case, many of whom were from Kansas. KOAM's Elise Noe has more.
These are 12 African American women who signed their names, and they literally changed history.
Historian Donna Ray Pearson presents the women of Brown, sharing the stories of the 12 black women who were plaintiffs in the 1954 Brown v. Board of Education case at the Parsons Public Library.
This year's the 70th anniversary of the decision. So there's a lot of conversation going on about the case right now. But historically, there's never been much conversation about the women themselves.
Pearson says that the contributions of these women in the civil rights movement is often overlooked, but their story is an essential part of the impact the case has had on American society.
Because they were women and because they were African American, they were not asked the same kind of questions that the men were asked. They were not the civil rights lawyers standing in front of the judges. These were just 12 ordinary women who did something extraordinary.
The Women of Brown is part of Humanities Kansas's Speakers Bureau, hoping to strengthen civic engagement in the state.
Hope people will go, after they see a presentation, they'll be like, you know, such and such does that in my community, and maybe they too should be documented and their story recorded.
And the story of these 12 black women remains pertinent in the present day.
I think we need to know about them. I think we need to know that everyday heroes come from our communities.
In Parsons, Kansas, Elise Noe, KOAM News.
This was Pearson's first time giving the presentation and discussion of the Women of Brown. She says she will continue to highlight these women's stories and ensure they will not be forgotten. Well, still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If you've ever walked through the food court at the mall on a busy afternoon, you've probably seen and even tasted what we're whipping up today. Any ideas what it could be?
But first, we are talking about a 50-degree temperature drop as we head into the overnight hours. Well, the latest on that forecast when the KOAM News at noon returns. Welcome back to the KOAM News at noon. So we have, at least this day, It is very May-like out there. We've got very warm temperatures. It's also quite windy. Taking a look at the MODOT camera there at 32nd and Range Line. Not only is the pole the camera is mounted to swaying back and forth a little bit, at traffic signal, both of them that you can see in view, both right here and that one there, really rocking around in the wind as we are continuing to see those gusts pushing pretty high out there. Some of us still seeing that 40 and even upwards of 50 miles an hour. Really shaking our camera too on the Cornell complex. It's almost like an earthquake out there, but this is just wind. You can also see the cloudy skies. KDOT camera on 69 south of Pittsburgh. It's actually holding pretty steady, but again, like that sign said, don't discard cigarettes. Don't do anything that involves any sparks or flame outdoors. So burning, grilling, or throwing your cigarette out the window. How dry things are, and with this wind, it wouldn't take much to spark a fire, and we've got to be careful out there. 79 in Joplin. What this is called is mostly cloudy. We're getting some sun, but more clouds. Southwest breeze at 16, gusting to 31. This is what we're talking about. That humidity is only 29%. Over in Kansas, Pittsburgh 76, southwest breeze at 18, gusting to 23. Humidity is 27% out there. Very dry. Red flag warnings across the entire area. Parts of Kansas, Missouri, you know the drill, until 9. Everybody else until 8 o'clock tonight. And on top of that, we have wind advisories. Again, parts of Kansas, Missouri through 9 this evening. Everyone else until 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, because even once the front passes through, we're still going to have gusty winds on the backside. So here we go by this evening. You can clearly see where that front is. So some of you may see a slight drop in wind gusts as the front rolls through. Until then, ahead of it, these winds are out of the south-southwest. Behind it, these winds are going to circle around out of the north, and they're still going to be just as gusty as they are now, if not a little breezier overnight for some of us, still pushing 30, possibly 40 miles an hour. Here we are Wednesday, 5 a.m., still breezy, winds out of the north, so that's going to give us some pretty cold wind chills because our temperatures are really going to drop as we head into into tonight and tomorrow. So by 5, those wind arrows, there's that shift, there's that front. Thankfully, the temperatures don't necessarily plummet back behind this thing, but they're going to get cold pretty quickly out there. By 7, as the front advances to the I-44 corridor, we could see a couple of stray showers, maybe even some thunderstorms along and south of I-44, and that's what we were talking about. The last few days, that severe risk, even the thunderstorm risk, just kept moving further and further east, and then with the latest updates just before noon, it's backed up just a bit, but it's nothing to worry about. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. And we could still even see a few stray snow showers out there. So here's that. Some general thunderstorms in the light green and a low risk right in the far eastern parts of our area, primarily stretching into Berry and Lawrence counties. And the primary concern here is going to be with some hail and perhaps some gusty winds. And as you can see, even that, it is in the far eastern edge of our viewing area. So the overall severe threat is still relatively low. As for today, averaging highs right around the low 80s, many of us already there. Those southwest winds sustained at 20 to 30, gusting to 45. Tonight, the rain, again, some of us might see a little light snow out there. Won't add up to anything, but you could see some snow. There's that 50-degree drop, eventually reaching lows into the upper 20s and low 30s. And the winds, again, out of the north, still gusting upwards of 40. And again, for the first half of our Wednesday, we have north winds gusting upwards of 30. And by the early afternoon, they'll begin to calm down for us. And our highs only into the low 40s, so well below normal. Back to normal Thursday, maybe a few evening showers out there. Back to near 80. Heading into the weekend with another system, Sunday into Monday with some thunderstorm and shower chances, and that could also bring our temperatures down a bit. But thankfully, that system not looking to be as significant as a temperature drop as we go back into the upper 50s and low 60s. Well, stick around. We are making bourbon chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Well, if you're looking for something fun and tasty for dinner tonight, or really any night, Howard's got you covered with some tasty bourbon chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
If you've ever walked through the food court at the mall on a busy afternoon, you've probably seen and even tasted what we're whipping up today. I'm talking about bourbon chicken. And although you might think this dish has Asian origins, it's actually named after Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And today, we're going to share our version of it with you. The first thing we do is cut some boneless, skinless chicken breasts or thighs into chunks. Next, we coat them with a mixture we made by combining some cornstarch, garlic powder, ground red pepper, and a touch of salt. These get sauteed in a bit of oil until the chicken is golden and no pink remains. While they finish up, we combine some jalapeno pepper jelly, a bit of soy sauce, and a generous splash of bourbon. Then we toss this flavor-packed sauce over the chicken, and there you have it. A dish that's just as good over rice, which gives it its Asian flair, or when served Mardi Gras style, with or without the beads. The recipe for our simple-to-make bourbon chicken is online now, so you can make it as soon as tonight. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a New Orleans-inspired way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Is it good?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can, of course, find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. The easy thing you do, you just head over to KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, before we go to break, we're going to take a look at the 4-state market prices. All right, enjoy this nice weather while it lasts. Low 80s today, breezy, winds gusting to 40, 45s. Remember, we have those red flag warnings and wind advisories. Absolutely no outdoor burning. Temperatures drop 50 degrees heading into the overnight hours, down into the upper 20s and low 30s. Below average tomorrow, low 40s. Again, maybe a few showers or storms tonight, maybe a couple of snow showers tomorrow early morning. Nothing significant, but just be aware. A couple of showers possible Thursday evening, then we're back near 80 by this weekend with more thunderstorms Sunday and a little cooler as we kick off the next work week, back into the upper 50s and low 60s.
I know we joke about the temperature extremes and how radically and quickly they can move from one to the other, but my goodness.
Yeah, 50 degree
plus
drop
in like the space of 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's not a complete plummet, but that's still a big drop out there.
Yes, it is indeed.
What do we got coming up at 5?
Well, a lot coming up at 5. For starters, measles, once nearly eliminated in America, and that disease is back. We're going to see which states are seeing outbreaks and how anti-vaccine sentiment is playing a role. Plus, repairs continue at the Jasper County Courthouse after flooding from a frozen pipe. And the main grocery store in Chetopa is planning on closing due to low sales. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up today. KOAM News at 5.
All right, Dow, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us for the KOAM News at noon. As Dow mentioned, we'll be right back here tonight at 5. Have a great afternoon.